This is a relentless game, turning life's chaos into power. This is a relentless game, I've been out grinding 10,000 hours. This is a relentless game, always put my faith inside of God that won't ever stop. Turning life's chaos into power. This is a relentless game.
All right, the relentless game, turning life's chaos into power. Seth Humphrey here with Coach Christian. Here's the deal. There is this frame that we have that we see things through. You see through your frame, I see through my frame. So like right now, you're watching us. You may be watching on a screen, and that screen has 4 sides. It's the same thing that when we are looking at our day-to-day, when we're moving through this day-to-day life, right? And that frame, as we look through, is our perspective. It's how we see things. My perspective and my frame is made up of different stories, different beliefs, different rules, different laws than Christians. Christian has a different background than I have. He's got it. He's had different life experiences than I've had. He's had different parents than I've had. He's got all these different things that make up his frame, and I have the same thing. And here's what happens with most guys is they get stuck in their same perspective that they always had. They don't ever question the crap that they're telling themselves. And what happens is this keeps us trapped. If you look at it like a box that you're trapped into, and until you start to question the BS that you tell yourself, then you'll never grow into a larger box. Because that's ultimately what it is. We're always going to have different perspectives and laws and rules and beliefs that are holding us back. And so I look back over my life and my experiences, and 2015, January 2015, I just came off my best year in business. I was crushing it from the outside. Got a brand new custom built house, driving the truck that I wanted, beautiful wife, healthy son. Like from the outside, everything's good. The inside, though, I was struggling big time. I climbed the ladder of success, won the awards that I wanted to win for my franchise. And then I looked over and my ladder was on the wrong building, and I realized that I wasn't happy. And the crazy part was I told myself the story was when I hit 500,000 in sales, I'm going to be happy. There's no way that extra money that I couldn't be happy. And then I did it. I grabbed the award, stepped off the stage, and realized, and it hit me that, damn, I got to do this all over again. And I don't like the guy I'm turning into. And I don't like who I'm becoming when it comes to my being a father and a husband. And I made a decision. That decision, I left and I went to San Diego, California with 7 other fitness entrepreneurs and a couple of my coaches. And it changed everything for me. One, because it helped me realize I was a hypocrite and a liar, and I was lying to myself, but it also gave me a structure to be able to question the stories I was telling myself. And I'd say that because next thing you know, I roll in to, I'm improving, I'm getting better. Next thing I know, it's as you start to improve, the resistance starts to show up. I lose my dad. I go into that, losing my dad. I buy a 10,000 square foot building called the Vitality Mill. I roll into that and fall into an 18-month lawsuit. And during that 18-month lawsuit, was when my story was the worst, and it was, I'm going to lose it all. And I remember every night, every morning waking up and coming to the Vitality Mill. I couldn't market. I couldn't advertise like I wanted to. And you know how we market and advertise now. I couldn't be the face of the Vitality Mill. I spent 11 years to build this thing up and finally be able to have my own gym the way I wanted to do it, left my franchise. And then I followed this franchise. And the crazy part was with where the Vitality Mill is located at, it's an off the beaten path. Now you're opening a brand new business. You got a non-compete lawsuit against you. You can't market, you can't advertise, and having secret shoppers come in and try to catch me in the act of training. It was it was a nightmare. And that's what switched it. It was one day, I remember I would always just tell myself, you're going to lose it all. 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 And that story was just always in my head. And one day I just questioned the story. I just looked at the story and was like, I'm going to lose it all. Is there any truth in that at all? And I instead of just looking at it, I just reversed the statement and I just questioned the story. And what would be the opposite of I'm going to lose it all is I have it all. And so once I said that I have it all, I just did the opposite of the story. I'm going to lose it all, that I have it all. I looked at that opposite story and like, I have it all. Okay, let me come up with some data and some facts that prove to me that I have it all. I started laying it out. Got a beautiful wife, got a healthy son, I got my health. I've got all these things, this building that I bought, all these things, my relationship with God, all these things that I have. And that question of my story and then proven to myself that it was false of the story I was telling myself, that shattered my frame and the way I looked at things. It changed my life and it changed the way I looked at everything because then every time that story came up of I'm going to lose it all, I would immediately remember back that I look and I have it all. And there's big lists that I made that proved that I had it all. And when I did that, changed my story and that story changing that story changed my life. And so I tell you that is because there's some type of story that you're telling yourself on a daily basis that's keeping you trapped where you are, and you'll never be able to outperform that story until you question it. So that's the pit that most guys are living in, is they have this story that they've lived with and then they tell themselves. And the crazy part is we never stop to actually identify and look at whether the story is actually true or not. And so we stay stuck.
Man, the biggest thing that I'm hearing from that story is the biggest game changer was you getting out of me to us. Like whenever you flip that story and you start to talk about your wife, start to talk about your son, you start to talk about the lives that you're changing within the gym, like that was the freedom. That was the thing that ultimately made your story flip from something negative to positive. Because, man, it's heavy to carry the weight of all those things on your own whenever you're just focused on me, when everything's centered around you, whenever I make this much money. But whenever you're building for something that's deeper than you and more impactful than just you, that's whenever you have that purpose. Because when it comes to the money, when it comes to everything that we individually accomplish in life, like that feels good in the moment. But then after the fact, it's like, yeah, I did that, but what's next? But when you see the lives that you're changing, when you see the people that you're impacting, that's what keeps you motivated. That's what gives you that reason to rise in the morning when you know that you're changing the game for other people. So the biggest thing that I heard in that story is you shifting that focus from yourself to others. And that's what led to that freedom and led to the purpose of you doing what you're doing on a daily basis.
Well, it unlocked a lot of different things because the peak side of that is it's like once I broke that frame, I started showing up differently, and I started realizing that regardless of the circumstances and the problems that are thrown at me, I have it all, and it changed my perspective, and changing the perspective flipped the story, and that story changed everything else, and started to allow me to uh, just show up regardless of mood, regardless of feelings, regardless of emotion, just show up and do the work, knowing that regardless if they took everything from me, I still had it all. They couldn't take my body from me. They couldn't take my health. I'm still alive. I still got my little family. I still got everything. I still got my relationship with God. Like, and you start to realize that your stories are way worse than what actual reality is. I'll say that again. Your stories are way worse than actual reality. You'll come up with all kinds of reasonings of why and then this and that. But when we just look at the facts of like, okay, right here, all we have to do is today is take care of today and what's in front of us. And we don't have to worry about the future. And that's ultimately, man, that's my biggest thing with faith is it's like a superpower. And so many individuals preach faith and that they have a relationship with God, but then they don't have any faith. But when we actually look at it, they're like scared, worried. It's like, man, life is so much easier when you just make a decision of like, yeah, I'm gonna look in the future of the man that I'm trying to become, but I'm not gonna worry about problems in the future because I know that like right here, right now, I'm gonna forge myself through these issues and these problems. I'm gonna get better and I'm gonna learn. It's gonna teach me a skill set, it's gonna teach me a mindset that I'm gonna be able to benefit and get better at and learn from. So what you need to understand the principle that when we look at this is like most of the discipline problem as much as it is a thinking problem that the way you think determines your next step, your next action, and then your next action decides your actual result. And so we start to just go like, hey, I'm going to question my thoughts. And by just like the other day, like we were talking about on the last podcast, was like, hey, I'm going to eat this chocolate covered raspberries, like, but I'm eating no sugar. Okay. The story is you can eat those because you've gone 28 days with no sugar. So you should be able to have those because they're fruit, sugar, or whatever. And I question now going like, no, you can't have that because that does have sugar in it. And you said you weren't going to have sugar for 30 days. And so like the story will always be something that is holding us back the majority of the time. That if we really question, we're like, man, do I really need that right now? No, because I guarantee you this, fulfilling and following through with no sugar for 30 days feels 1,000 times better than quitting on day 28
Yeah.
and not following through with what I said I was going to do. So we got to, it's like, you got to question your stories and everything that you do. And if you do that, then what you're going to see is an alternative. And then you can make a decision on, okay, this is the step I'm going to take from there. Not all the time. You're going to succumb sometimes to the, and to the story, and you're going to fall victim to it. But if it's not getting you the result that you want, then you have to question it and look back at it. So,
Well, yeah, we're human. You're going to have those moments where you don't always rise to the occasion, but it's the story that you tell yourself after that moment, right? That determines like, okay, where am I going to go from here? You got to tell yourself a different story. Yeah, just we talked about this in another podcast too. Is just turning around that story that you're telling yourself. So if you're telling yourself negative all the time, like that's what you're going to get. Like you just need to flip that story and focus on a lot more positive stuff. And it's crazy. Like it's wild when you actually tell yourself, like you speak things into existence. You can actually do that. But it's flipping that story and being able to tell yourself, I am going to do this. I am going to do that, and then doing it.
so the path that we use inside of the Guerrilla Alliance is use something called a tool called the stack, where you're going to have stories on a daily basis of different things. Like I always use like being irritated with my wife. So like the emotion was irritation. Well, when I would be irritated about something, I'd go into the stack and I would make statements about my wife of like, why is it that your wife has pissed you off? Now I make this statement, why would my wife have pissed me off? And then when I look at that statement and I actually break it down, is that true? And then if it wasn't true, what's the opposite of I'm seeing right now? And then being able to identify and going like, my wife shouldn't say this, and then I'd be like, I shouldn't say that, like replacing it and starting to see like where am I doing that at? Because oftentimes your trigger and the things that trigger you are oftentimes stuff that you're doing yourself that you need to get better at. So by questioning and using the stack, we could then break down and we can shift and we can take and see different stories and question those stories, but we can also find different action steps that we need to take as well and leave that stack with some type of action to take. Oftentimes that was me apologizing to my wife because I would see that like my story was way off and I made an idiot of myself. And so I need to apologize to her. And she could see that like, oh, he actually did some reflection on that. So that's the path that we use is like one, take care of your body, take care of what goes in your mind, your eyes, your ears, your mouth. But the other side of it though is start to get some clarity on the question, the stuff that you tell yourself on a daily basis. And when you do this, what will happen is you'll actually be able to see that a lot of times we're lying to ourselves and what we're actually telling ourselves isn't true at all. And it's actually stopping us and slowing us down. So
There's just so much power in the pause, man, and I think that's what the stack allows you to do. Is it allows you to pause because what us humans do is we react out of feelings, we react out of emotion, and so in the moment we think we're saying the right stuff, we think we're doing the right thing. But what the stack does is it slows everything down. It starts to ask you questions. It just makes you pause and reflect on the stories that you're telling yourself. Then you're able to get a positive outcome out of that. They did a study that I saw, and this was two couples, and they were arguing. And what they would do is they even put like a heartbeat tracker on them as well. But whenever this couple started to have a disagreement, they separated them. They said, "Hey, we're having some technical difficulties with your mic. Can you guys with your mics? Can you guys go to different rooms?" And they had their heart rate that they were tracking. Whenever they were about to get into that argument, they saw that their heart rate went up. That's when they separated them. They let their heart rate go down, and then they put them back in the same room together. And whatever they were fighting about, they were able to have an actual logical agreement with each other. And maybe sometimes, you're still disagreeing, but your heart rate is down. And a lot of times, we make just stupid decisions because we're just reacting out of that emotion in the moment. And so, yeah, back to what I was talking about with the stack, it just allows you to like your heart rate's down. You're having basically the stack is asking you questions and it's pulling those things out of you, and you're able to make an actual in tune decision that is more in the right state of mind.
You're just reframing it.
Hmm.
And so like with when you question your thoughts, then you can see that like, okay, that's not true. Then you can reframe that thought and it create a bigger and better outcome long term. And so
Yeah.
that's ultimately what we a couple ways that we can help you is one, you can come to the Relentless Faith Bible Experience. That's free. I've moved that to Tuesdays at 6:15 p.m. Central Time. So majority of most men could hopefully be able to make that. That's the first thing. It's free. I'd love to invite you into that. The second one is to join us inside of the Guerrilla Alliance. And so what we'll do is give you a place to where with the stack you can start to question your thoughts. At the same time, you can start to take your discipline to another level and install some daily structure there with the core four. And with Christian, he'll hook you up with some fitness and nutrition and start getting you into shape there. We start to track the facts instead of getting in our feelings and our emotions. We start to look at what the actual facts are, and then we start to build discipline through repetition instead of hype. And so I would love to invite you into that. The first 30 days, we're going to start simple. Christian's going to be helping you start to take control of your body and the food that you're taking in. And by us doing that, then we can start to also impact our confidence, our certainty, start to feel better, start to have more energy, start to have a different outlook. And that starts to awaken you to how small you've been playing. And then we can move you into the next phase, which is built different, where we can start to actually start to not only take control of our body and our health and take that to another level, but then also go in and have a rhythm, flow of what we're going into. Where daily I hit you up with simple stacks to help you question your stories. A lot of that comes from Discover Stack, and then we start to build from there. Then we start to build into the next phase. Is once you're awake, we submit and take a knee and look and see what God's calling us to build. And then we go into the have it all side of it. That's what's us having targets and goals in every area of our life that starts to become the man that God created us to be. So we'd love to invite you into this. It's something that we know works. How we know? Because we got the results to prove it. But it's not for every guy, because it's got to be something that you're ready to kill off the old version of you. Because if you're not ready to kill that old version off, then you're just going to stay in the same spot. You're going to stay stuck. This is for men who are serious about making a change and knowing they can't do it on their own, and they need some guidance, some direction, and some accountability from others that care. So we'd love to have you with that. You can find me, Seth.p.Humphrey at the Vitality Mill, or Seth.p.Humphrey on Instagram, but also on Facebook. You can find me there. And then where can I find you?
You can find me on Instagram at boo_train6. So all things fitness and nutrition. You can find me there.
If you go to my Instagram or my Facebook, you can click the link in my bio. It'll point you to the Relentless Faith Bible Experience. It'll also point you towards Build Different as well. So we'd love to point you in the right direction and guide you from there. If you need anything from us, just always shoot us a message and we'll point you in the right direction and go from there. So question those stories, and we will see you on the other side. Have a great day.